So what if the key to a truly successful career isn't really about climbing the corporate ladder? What if it's about something much more fundamental, just knowing yourself? That's the powerful idea we're digging into today, using the timeless wisdom of the legendary management thinker, Peter Drucker. We're going to break down his masterclass on how to manage the most important enterprise you will ever run, your own life and your own career.
Okay, let's just start right here, because this idea from Drucker, it's a total game changer. He's saying success isn't about having the highest IQ or being the most ambitious person in the room. It's about having the deepest self-awareness. I mean, think about it. How many times have you been in a job where you just felt like you were swimming upstream, not really playing to your strengths? That's the exact feeling we're going to tackle.
And here's why that self-knowledge isn't just a nice-to-have anymore. Forget that old career ladder. It's gone. That predictable, one-company-for-life path is a total relic. Right now, you are the chief executive officer of your own career. And yeah, it's a huge responsibility for sure, but it is also an incredible opportunity. So Drucker's advice, it's not just theory, it's your new strategic roadmap.
Okay, so you're the CEO. What does that actually mean, day to day? Well, it means you're in charge of staying engaged and productive for the long haul. And we're not just talking about a job, we're talking about a potential 50-year professional journey. No company is going to manage that for you anymore. It is all on you to navigate, to find your place, and to know when it's time to make a big strategic pivot.
So, your very first move as the CEO of You Incorporated, you have to identify your greatest assets. In other words, you've got to find your strengths. And Drucker is crystal clear about this. You can only build performance on strengths. Trying to build a career by constantly fixing your weaknesses, well, that's just a surefire recipe for mediocrity. Excellence comes from doubling down on what you're already good at. So let me ask you, straight up, what are your strengths? It seems like a pretty simple question, right? But here's the kicker. Most of us, we get it wrong. We are often painfully aware of our weaknesses, but our true strengths, according to Drucker, knowing those, well, that's a rare and incredibly powerful advantage.
So how do you figure out what they really are? Well, luckily, Drucker gives us a tool. It's called feedback analysis. And it's this really simple but profound way to get real hard data on your own performance. This isn't about what you think you're good at or what you wish you were good at. No, this is all about results.
And here's how it works. It's kind of like a personal science experiment. Whenever you make a key decision or take on a big project, write down what you expect will happen. Then, just file that note away for, say, 9 to 12 months. When you pull it out later and compare the reality to your expectations, the results can be startling. You'll start to see these clear patterns of where you consistently shine and, where you tend to fall short. It's like a performance review, but you're the one in charge.
So what do you do with all this data? It becomes your personal action plan. First, you concentrate on those strengths. You put yourself in positions where they can actually produce results. Second, you work on improving them, turning a strength into real excellence. The analysis will also show you the bad habits that are holding you back. And maybe most importantly, it tells you what to stop doing. It's all about playing to your strengths, not wasting precious energy fixing things you're just not good at.
All right, so knowing your strengths is step one. But next, you have to understand how you work best. And this is just as important, maybe even more so. We're not talking about skills you can learn here. We're talking about your innate personality. And you can't really change that. So the smart move is to work with it, not against it.
Now, here's a question you've probably never been asked in a job interview. Are you a reader or a listener? It might sound like a small thing, but Drucker argues that knowing the answer and getting it right can literally make or break a career. Most of us are one or the other, but we're almost never both. I mean, just look at Dwight Eisenhower. He was a classic reader. As a general, his aides made sure he got written briefings, and he was legendary for his command of the details. But then as president, he tried to act like his predecessors, who were listeners, and his unscripted press conferences became famously rambling. And on the flip side, you have Lyndon Johnson, who was a master listener. He thrived in conversation, but he kept Kennedy's team of writers who just fed him memos he could never really absorb. See? Knowing your style is absolutely crucial.
And it's not just about reading versus listening. How do you learn? Do you need to write it down, talk it through, or just go do it? Do you thrive in a team, or are you more of a solo act? Are you at your best making that final call, or are you the trusted advisor behind the scenes? The goal here isn't to change who you are. It's to find the environment where your natural style can really flourish.
So, we've got strengths and we've got performance style. Now for the third piece of this self-knowledge puzzle, your values. And this isn't about some generic corporate ethics statement on a poster.
This is about knowing what is fundamentally important to you. Because if your values don't line up with your work, you're just setting yourself up for frustration and failure.
For this, Drucker offers a beautifully simple tool he calls the mirror test. It's a gut check. It just cuts through all the noise. When you're facing a tough decision, especially an ethical one, you just ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to see in the mirror tomorrow morning? It's such a powerful way to stay true to yourself.
This quote just says it all, doesn't it? A highly respected German ambassador was asked to do something that went completely against his personal code. He knew it would have been a great career move, but he chose to resign instead. That right there is the mirror test in action. It's about drawing a line in the sand that you will not cross, no matter what it costs you professionally.
So here's the bottom line. Your values and your organization's values have to be compatible. They don't have to be identical, but they absolutely cannot be in conflict. If you deeply value sustainability, but you're working for a company that couldn't care less about its environmental impact, that's going to eat away at you. Even if you're great at the job, you'll be miserable, and eventually your performance is going to suffer.
Okay, so you've done the hard work of self-discovery. You know your strengths, your performance style, and your values. Now what? Now it's time to put all that knowledge into action. The question shifts from who am I to where and how can I actually contribute?
So how do you figure out what your contribution should be? Well, Drucker says it's a balancing act. You have to ask three things. First, what does this situation actually need? Second, given my unique strengths and style, how can I make the biggest impact? And third, what results have to happen to really make a difference? The answer is right there at the intersection of those three things. That's your sweet spot. Now let's zoom out and talk about the long game. That 50-year career is a marathon, not a sprint. For a lot of people, by the time they hit their mid-40s, they might be at the peak of their career, but they're also kind of bored. The challenge is gone. So managing yourself means planning for this and seeing the second half of your life not as a decline, but as a brand new opportunity.
Let that number just sink in for a minute. 50 years. That is a very, very long time to do the same thing day in and day out. The real enemy for successful people in the long run isn't burnout, it's boredom. And that is precisely why you need a deliberate, conscious plan for that second half of your career. It's not just going to happen by itself. So, what does a second act even look like? Drucker gives us three basic paths. 1. You can start a completely new career. Say, move from the corporate world to a small business. 2. You can develop a parallel career. You keep your main job, but you dedicate serious time to a nonprofit you care about. Or 3. You can become a social entrepreneur, creating a new venture to tackle a problem you're passionate about. The choice is yours, but the key is to start laying the groundwork years before you need to make the change.
And that brings us right back to where we started. You are the CEO of your career. You now have the framework that Drucker gave us, the tools to understand your strengths, your performance style, and your values. You have a roadmap for making a real contribution and for managing a long and fulfilling life. So, the only question left is this: what's your next move?